Well, also like cannot do illegal things lah.
We got hired for a purpose, and that's to make the show go on. It was Errol from KTU Records who actually coined the term Blackbeard for me. And this was sometime in 2010, 2011 when I first started working in them. Eventually, the company just morphed into what it is today. We're trying to do what we can, do the best that we can for people. I started the company to basically further my own career. And then it really just morphed into something else. I realized there was a huge opportunity to not just grow ourselves, but grow our own people in the back end industry or the support. So yeah, we started just doing audio for people, and then that morphed into project management, and then it turned into producing shows turnkey. Now we are where we are.
Hello, my name is Peng Sing, and I am the founder of Where Are the Fruits. So we are a label based in Singapore, indie label, and we provide distribution and a whole bunch of other artist services. Some of the artists that we work with also include bands like Mildlife, Liu Lo, Joey Tan, and so we serve like a pretty broad range of artists at different phases of their career. What we offer is basically a lot of flexibility. We try to tailor our services and the other bells and whistles that we need to provide to help the artists get to like the next level or get to wherever they want to be. It all started, I think, in about 2016 when my own band, who used to be called Take Two, today Mildlife, we were looking for a label that could match whatever we were trying to do. You know, we are still indie and we have a very clear idea of what we sound like and the kinds of messaging that we have, and a lot of us, we were also not doing it full time. So it was difficult to find a label that had the right fit, because back then it was like either if you're really serious, you just sign to kind of like a major label and they will offer you a record deal, and there's a lot of commitment which the band wasn't ready. And so I decided to start a label that kind of like is a very middle of the road. You know, it's not like full on 360 commitment, and there's a lot of flexibility in the kinds of deals that we offer. Actually, it turns out that there were a lot of other independent musicians from the music scene that wanted a service provider, so to speak, that had this kind of flexibility, that really understands where they're coming from. There are so many challenges around trying to pursue music. Not many of us do it full time. So as a result, we really need that kind of flexibility. And yeah, that's where Are the Fruits really found itself. And this is the niche that we've been building for a few years now.
I played drums from a very young age. As long as I can remember, I've been hitting on cardboard boxes and pens. My parents weren't too happy about that. But music was always a part of my life, and I guess I always wanted something to do with music. At first it was being a musician, and then somewhere along the way, there was a huge gratification factor to working behind the scenes. It just comes back to the fact that there's some level of satisfaction. You impact people's lives. The audience plays a huge part in encouraging me to go on, because nothing feels better than having a show that goes amazing from the word stand by and go to when you mute that last channel and you go, that was a good day. I remember sucking at this very badly, but the only thing that kept driving me was I'm a musician. I knew what I wanted it to sound like, and you know, I was very lucky in the sense that I was at the right place at the right time almost all the time. I met the right people at the right time. The right shows came in at the right time.
You know, as much as we can say like, oh, we are artists and like we want to make great music. At the heart of it, right, music requires an interaction with the audience, and you need to have listeners, you need to have fans. So a lot of the conversation is always how can we reach more listeners? How can we grow our audience? And so from a distribution standpoint, a big part of it is like, can we get on certain playlists? Can we pitch this stuff to radio or to other media stakeholders? So we take on all these other promotional and pitching aspects of the music. But a big part of it, which I think not many people see, is really coming up with a great story behind the music, trying to build your own artist profile, trying to really figure out like what exactly is it I'm trying to say in my music and what I do. The label can work together with the artist to start to figure out like, okay, you know what, if your music is about healing and hope, right? This is the way we can tell the story, and this is the way you could maybe start to reach out to this certain pockets of audience, and these are the people that need to hear your music. The conversation that we try to bring it back towards is to, okay, are you growing your audience? Are you growing your fan base? It's great that you have, a few 100K listeners. You sell merch. Are people buying? If you're selling tickets to your show, are people turning up? So if not, right, how can we try to start thinking about like your audience funnel, where you have people who are aware of your music, and then you build it down to, you find the people who are interested and the people who are then your fans and are willing to pay money. This is something that artists intuitively, they know they have to do, but when it comes to actually planning it out and figuring out what steps to take, that's where a label or an artist manager will be very useful. Yeah.
Sometimes it's tough. People think it's easy doing that. Artists have idiosyncrasies as well, and we have to learn how to work around that. And when you're not at home ground, there's a level of tension that happens. In my experience, everything that can go wrong has gone wrong before. From laptops getting fried before the show starts, to power getting cut, us turning up and they have a rider that's a year old and doesn't make sense anymore. You have to be prepared. So a lot of this kind of falls on your production manager's head. That's one of the things as a production manager, is you can't afford to be exhausted, because 5, 6, 10 people job rests on how well you wrote an email and how well you communicated with them your requirements for a show. At the same time, it's all not shit, We've had some shows that just are amazing from the word go, and then you wondered what privilege you had to get this. It will always be a struggle, especially when you are an act that's not strong. When you don't carry your own production and you're walking in with minimal production or no production whatsoever, you're gonna have to fight a battle. But that's what we're there for. We're like the commanders, if you will, of the army, trying to go in and make the show happen. And I believe you take the show by the neck and drag it into the building, make it happen, and drag it out if it doesn't work. That's what you need to do to, just make sure it happens. If you're young and you're starting out and you want to find opportunities, let me even scratch the word young. Like, if you're starting out and you want to find opportunities, put yourself out there. Because even if you suck, because you care, you're going to land jobs. I think that's a huge thing that we all have to try and do. Even today, where I feel like I'm making a decent paycheck of what I'm doing, I think I'm pretty decent at what I am, I could suck. You do need to have a good amount of resilience, because shit can go wrong anytime. Yeah, just resilience and don't be an asshole. I feel like those are very important things.
If anyone is looking to start, your own indie label or distribution, right? First thing I will strongly advise is think it through and be very clear about what you set out to do. Look for friends and people in the industry that you can rely on and work with. Otherwise, it's going to be a super uphill task. Second thing is before you start a label, basically the way I see is label is basically a collective of artists and musicians, and also maybe some of them are managers or business people who have a more businessy mindset. And the goal of the label is to really grow the listenership of all this music. In order to commercialize to some extent, you need to know how the music business works. So it means understanding your contracts, your copyrights, and your publishing and your licensing, all that stuff. And it will really go a long way, because then you have a clear idea of what the label needs to do, and the artists will also have a good idea of what they need to focus on and what they need to let go of.